I still remember Eric Bischoff wanting to ruin Vince McMahon that bad that he would actually come on TNT 2 minutes before Monday Night Raw would actually go on the air and give out the results of the show that was pre-taped. And I remember Vince McMahon actually wanting to kill Eric Bischoff on a number of different occasions. So that gave WCW a distinct advantage, but in later years the ratings would plummet for WCW given the fact that WWE would fight back and introduce stars like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, D-Generation X. The Undertaker's gimmick would be going full swing there, and you had a lot of young talents coming in through the doors, and Stone Cold Steve Austin was a tremendous factor, a benefactor for WWE in the early 90s, which allowed them to catapult themselves into stardom and surpass anything that WCW and WCW's Nitro was. Of course, WCW Nitro, many of you will remember it for being the flagship show of WCW. And I have to tell you this, I was a huge WCW Nitro fan because I enjoyed it, especially when the show went from 2 to 3 hours in the later years, when they were on the end of it. I really enjoyed watching the 3-hour Nitros compared to the 2-hour Monday Night Raws that used to air. And I remember coming home from school in the afternoons and actually sitting down and watching the entire Nitro in its entirety, the whole 3 hours of it, at 3 Eastern in the afternoon. And I couldn't believe, all the matches that they would have. They'd have this huge 3-hour show, and at the end of it, they'd have this huge main event. And I believe to this day, that's the reason that WWE does these 3-hour Raws on occasions. It's beyond me why WWE hasn't expanded their Raw permanently from 2 hours to 3. But I believe that WCW, expanding their Nitro before moving back to 2 hours to 3 hours is a tremendous influence on WWE for these 3-hour Raw specials we see from time to time, no matter if it's King of the Ring, no matter if it's the Slammy Awards, whatever. I still believe that WCW played a significant role in the reason why Monday Night Raw does these 3-hour Raws, because I think Vince McMahon really misses the competition. But Nitro did a lot of things. They did a lot of firsts, and I really do miss, that competition factor that WWE and WCW had in the 90s. And that's something that the Monday Night Wars DVD took a look at in depth, and I think that the WCW Nitro DVD is going to chronicleize that if it's released to a certain extent. But it's really going to take a look at the success of Nitro in the earlier years when Nitro was beating Monday Night Raw. I think it was 86 consecutive weeks, anywhere from 86 to 87 weeks. WCW Nitro was ahead in the ratings wars, and they were really having a distinct advantage over WWE because the WWE stars, I remember when Lex Luger actually quit Raw and on that same night showed up on WCW Nitro. So, WCW had a distinct advantage and pulled off a lot of firsts coming from Raw because, of course, the show was live. Some Nitros were taped, but not all of them. The majority of them were live, and that was the biggest advantage I think that WCW Nitro had over WWE Raw. But in the later years, Nitro wasn't as planned out as much as it was in the earlier years, and I think that led to the downfall of the company and the program in general, and allowed WWE to jump ahead because their shows were planned more sufficiently and the storylines were all followed through with. It seemed like on Nitro from week to week the matches weren't even announced, they were just made on the show. Nitro would come on the air and nobody'd know what was going to happen, and the matches were made throughout the 3-hour broadcast, the 2-hour broadcast, whatever, and the matches were just hyped up for that whole show. You wouldn't have a week of promotion like Monday Night Raw would have in the later years. Monday Night Raw would come on the air and they'd say 1 week from tonight, 2 weeks from tonight, this was going to happen, and they left you on the edge of your seat. WCW wouldn't do that. They'd come on the air and they'd make the matches during the show. They wouldn't have a week promotion. They'd just promote their pay-per-views. That would get the most of the promotion. The majority of the promotion would come from the pay-per-views they were building up to. Bash at the Beach, Fall Brawl, Halloween Havoc, whatever. They wouldn't promote any matches 1 or 2 weeks in advance, and I think that's what WWE had the advantage over there. But the fact that they would ruin the results of the taped Raw program kind of put WWE in a little bit of a hard situation and a hard spot, and it was very hard for WWE to rebound off of that. But one thing that I hope that the WCW Nitro DVD takes a look at is the fact that WCW was ahead in the ratings on Monday nights 86 weeks in a row before WWE introduced a lot of newer stars, this new Attitude Era that they were, launching in the 90s. And, I think that WCW had a distinct advantage for 86 to 87 weeks. And I think that that's what the DVD is going to take a big look at, is the fact that they were winning the ratings wars from week to week to week, and no matter what the WWE could do, they could never get themselves into this hole that they dug for themselves. Something else I hope they take a look at is the fact that WCW used to ruin the Raw results, particularly on the night that Mick Foley won the WWF Championship from The Rock on an edition of Monday Night Raw. I hope they take a look at how, Nitro used to ruin the results of Raw and the conflict that used to happen there. Something else I hope the DVD takes a look at is the fact that WCW used to acquire a lot of WWE's former talents on the show. I hope they take a look at a lot of the debuts that happened in the 90s, a lot of the WWF stars like Jeff Jarrett, Lex Luger, and so on, coming from the WWF and going to WCW. And the shifts in turn of how WCW stars would leave WCW and go to WWE. I hope they take a look at how much the jumping ship would fluctuate in the 90s, because I think that played a definite role in what programs were watched, especially when WWE introduced SmackDown on Thursday nights, and all the conflict that used to occur on Thursdays and Wednesday nights with Thunder and SmackDown and what have you. So I hope that WCW's Nitro DVD definitely takes a look at that, along with the influence the NWO had on the program. One of the best WCW Nitro moments of all time was when the NWO actually tried to take over Nitro. That was one of the best storylines they had in recent years in WCW, especially when Bret Hart was there. They had Sting and Hogan and Luger and everybody, and then the NWO was just trying to have this hostile takeover of the program and take over Nitro in general, and they had a huge pay-per-view match that year for control of Nitro, and I think that was a really, really good storyline, especially when Bret Hart jumped ship from the WWE to WCW and was a part of the NWO for a significant amount of time. I think that, that's when the storylines really took a definite role. The program that Hogan and Luger worked for the WCW Championship, that was one of my favorite Nitro moments of all time. Obviously, what we're going to see on the DVD is an in-depth look at some of Nitro's best moments, whether it was the NWO trying to take over the show, the programs between Hogan and Sting, Hogan and Luger, when Bret Hart made his debut on Nitro, all the matches Goldberg had in his significant role he played in WCW, and the many main events that he had on WCW Nitro right in the middle of his streak, when his streak was going to like 185-0 or something like that. What was it, 175-0 he went? Something like that. They're definitely going to take an in-depth look at how Goldberg was an influence on the Nitro show. A lot of things are going to be taken a look at. What you're going to have to expect from this DVD is a bit of entertainment from Diamond Dallas Page, if the rumors are true, if he's going to be hosting the DVD. You're going to have to expect, some of Nitro's best moments to be highlighted. The fluctuation of the ratings, the in-depth look at how WCW was defeating WWE 86 to 87 consecutive weeks in a row. And you're also going to have to take a look at how superstars like Goldberg, the NWO, Sting, and Luger, and a bunch of other former WWF stars played a role in the program. You're going to take a look at a lot of different things. A lot of different things are going to have to be looked at that weren't looked at in the WCW Monday Night Wars DVD that was previously released. I think this is going to be significantly different from the previous DVD release that was put out by WWE so many years ago. And I think that Diamond Dallas Page being brought in for this DVD, given the fact that he's been in so many famous movies from Warner Brothers and a number of different movie companies, is going to be absolutely phenomenal too, because this is going to be the first time we've heard from Diamond Dallas Page, and I'm sure a lot of other former WCW stars in years. I remember Diamond Dallas Page actually signed his WWE contract, and he worked the programs with The Undertaker and Canyon and a bunch of other superstars as well. So this is going to be the first time we're going to hear from Diamond Dallas Page, who has spent the majority of his time on the independents now. You can go to DiamondDallasPage.com for more information on what Diamond Dallas Page has been up to. So he spent a lot of his time, currently on the independents or with this new passion he has for working out and stuff like that. So this is going to be the first time we're going to see anything done on the part of WWE from Diamond Dallas Page. And the business relationship that himself and WWE are going to have in the years to come is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where they go with that. But like I said, there's going to be a lot of different things taking a look at in this DVD, if the DVD is released. Probably by the time you hear this week's audio commentary, the DVD will have been produced and released. And as I said, if you have any information on the DVD, you can send it to us, hewrestling@hotmail.com. Send us a friend's request on MySpace, or leave it there in the forum. It's going to be interesting to see, how they go about making this DVD. Obviously, it'll be a 2 to 3 disc set, because you can't chronicleize WCW Nitro in just one DVD, 2 at the most. I really, really, really did enjoy watching WCW Nitro, and the conflicts that used to occur between WWE and WCW in the 90s was absolutely phenomenal, and the wars that Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff used to have.